I'm chilling in the passenger seat of my car at my second favorite park because it's really windy outside. I wanted to sit and talk to myself outside, but pretty windy. All the leaves are falling beautifully in a dance that will never again be repeated. And this morning I'm feeling a lot of energy. It could be called agitation, but I'll call it agicreation because I feel like I want to live the lifestyle that I'm designing now. I don't want to wait for the month for the business class to start, and I don't want to wait for the 3 months for the business class to go on. I want to live it now. So I'm feeling the nowness of things, and I was changing some of the audios I extracted from the videos to audio videos with the photos, and then I was numbering the titles, just organizing it the way that I do, and then iCloud did something stupid, and now it's downloading and uploading stuff at the same time and getting really hung up on it because I have virtually no memory left on my computer, so I'm feeling this technology agitation in that it's not powerful enough to deal with what I'm doing. And so then I have this thought, like, go get one of those better laptops, but I can't right now. And it would be great if the new iPhone was out now, but it's not for another month. So I'm feeling this energy between the lifestyle I want to create and what's happening now. And in the morning I'm greeted with, oh, this terrible thing happened in Las Vegas last night and all these people were shot and killed, and just awfulness. And it's hard for me to hear about, and I don't want to hear about it. That's why I don't pay attention to social media or watch the news or watch TV or anything, because it's too troubling. So yeah, and then I tried to go look at a used camper, but the used camper place looks like it just has a bunch of trailers and not really campers. So sitting here in my car and then feeling like it'd be cool to have a camper to be able to sit in and do whatever during the day, but I don't. And then wondering how I might go about creating that lifestyle sooner rather than later. I have until mid-February, which is 4.5 months. And last night I did some coherence breathing and I was able to stay quite coherent, and I also did 20 minutes of muse meditation, so then I could get to the next level. And then the next level says I need to do 20 minutes 3 nights or 3 days in a row. So I'll do that next. I think working on the coherence breathing and the muse thing is a good way to keep track of my physiology being in order. And I updated to iOS 11. So now YouTube Capture, which is the app I was using to upload longer videos to YouTube from my phone, no longer works. So I'll likely have to transfer them to my computer if they're longer and upload them that way, or keep the video short. And I bought a book on Kindle, which I was staying away from, but I saw a book called The Possibility Principle by Mel Schwartz. And it talks about how quantum physics has applications in daily existence. And I feel that map consciousness and trance consciousness is a quantum type of consciousness. Seeing possibilities, speaking possibilities, seeing something new, collapsing wave functions. And I've talked a lot about this stuff along the way. So I think this book might summarize some of the things I was saying, but I'll likely feel quite critical about how it doesn't extrapolate any of it to what's happening in some human consciousness is non-volitionally, and then it's called mental illness. So again, it'll likely be a book for people who have never had any extreme non-ordinary state experience diagnosed as mental illness, to sell people on that idea when it's not an idea, it's something that's actually happening already, but people who don't understand it then label it mental illness from the outside, and those people who are experiencing it are having trouble moving about in those ways. So then, since society's not designed for possibility, it collapses the way of function around people being labeled with mental illnesses for life. So I'm not going to read it quite yet. I'm going to continue to babble on about the insights I wrote down when I was still in California as something to do in this period of time that I have to wait until this business course, just to give voice to them and see what the heck I was writing about. Maybe some of it will be related to what's in this book. And hopefully the book's really good. It probably will be. And when there are books like this, it makes me realize that I don't really want to write a book. People are already writing great books, and I don't think that's my forte, to sit down for a year or two and put something into linear fashion. Maybe sit down for a year or two and put things into non-linear fashion. Even telling myself, oh, I'm not going to read books like this, and then I do. I'm being consistently inconsistent and not sticking to what I say I'm going to do, because that's really impossible. And then that takes up some of the brain capacity, because then we have to remember what we said we were going to do or not going to do, and it makes us less open to possibilities. And I renewed my website domain today for 2 years, and that's good, because that way when I schedule the private videos for release later, the website won't expire in the meantime. And that was money. So I also want to get a pair of warm boots and warm gloves so I can kind of be outside and do some of this work. But today I'm going to talk about those insights, see how much I can get through of it, make those audios, maybe make some more audios. But I have a tendency right now to want to talk less, because I'm thinking about this linear thing. So I don't want the linear thing to impede this non-linear conversation I'm having with myself, because the linear thing might just be, and I talked about this yesterday, and this is important to remind myself, that the linear might be the business structure that is the minimum structure to fuel the non-linearity, not making this non-linear whatever into something super linear. So, and yeah, I see what I'm saying. It's inviting people into speaking in these non-linear ways and not as a self, and blah, 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 because we get into contact with a lot of words in these states of consciousness, and they're words that are downloads from the cloud. They're not from our hard drive brain memory storage. So continuing to speak in this way and these ways is important, and not trying to put it back into something old. The main reason that I did that for the business course procedure application is just to get in and then see what minimum stuff I need to create, and maybe not worry so much about creating the workshop and creating this and that, because I want to co-create that stuff with other people anyways. I don't think my brain can even make it linear, because I don't have the memory capacity. My memory capacity is my phone and my iCloud. It's not in my brain. I have a very limited amount of working memory that can contrive something. And that's part of the benefit and the gift of this. So then to try to go backwards on that and start contriving things really feels impossible. It feels like it's not part of this new algorithm, because it's the ego consciousness that would want to contrive things for its own benefit. And that's one of the downfalls in map consciousness and trance consciousness when we go there the first time, is we feel the power of the state we're moving creatively, artfully, non-volitionally, just with a lot of love and sharing. And then at some point we're like, oh, how can I get something out of this? And then that's part of what causes the crash. So I don't feel like I'm feeling, how can I get something out of this? But I'm feeling like, how can I make this linear? Which doesn't feel like get something, but at the same time, I realize I need to get something to live. If I want to live in the way I want to live. So, I don't know. I think there's a deeper forgetfulness that's going to come in. So if I can create that minimum structure that pays some bills while I move about the world, that would be great. It feels like my brain is trying to work something out while I'm sleeping, and I become aware of it in the morning when I'm waking up. This morning, it was working something out about how so-called mania is related to the metabolism of light and metabolism in general, because there's a phenomenon where people are more on the depressed side when winter hits and fall hits, and there's less light and there's less heat. And then as spring comes along, people have more of a tendency to go into mania. So-called mania. So I was thinking about how when there's more light in the day, we're able to see more information. And since it's a state of consciousness where we're in contact with actuality, what's right there, when there's more light lighting up actuality, there's some kind of cascade or process or mechanism, biorhythm, where now we have access to more information, because the information we do have access to and are able to see is about seeing the moment now. So when there's more moments now that are lit up, plus more warmth for metabolism and energy in terms of the sun's energy to keep us warm, we have that extra energy to divert into these other energetic processes and functions that we haven't yet been able to master for the most part. But with the change in seasons comes the opportunity to learn how to master that. And it makes sense too in terms of how as spring hits, there's more hours in the day. So now we have more hours to do work. We have more hours to get things done. There's more daylight. We're a different type of farmer. We're a farmer in consciousness. It's a different type of growing season, a season for growing new brain cells and new consciousness. So I wonder about this moving into being a snow chick and having access to the warmth of the sun and more energy all year round, as opposed to relying on my body to produce that heat and doing all these gestures of gathering warm clothes and things to produce that heat. So there's something with this metabolic thing, because when there's more light going into our eyes, the light goes into the pineal gland, we're able to produce more serotonin, more DMT. But the thing is that that's not the only way, because if we understand how to see meaning in daily life in every moment, we don't necessarily need the sunlight to help us out. But there is the sunlight there to help us see more by virtue of lighting up more throughout the day. So there's something there. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it seems like that going into map consciousness is more of a cycle that's to do with metabolism, heat, light, entropy, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye. When the light meets the eye. And oddly enough, that's sort of right where I left off on what I was talking about to myself in these random insights I'm going to continue to read. I wrote, seeing reality is kind of like how the eyes adjust to night or daylight. There is another adjustment, the energy. We can see the ether. And I'll continue from there.